What? You mean to tell me we're telling the Russians whenever our flights are in that fucking territory? What? And vice versa? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's right. They do that.
We just got dramatic new video from the Pentagon released by the military where you can see a Russian fighter jet as it was approaching the back of the American drone that has now been downed 4,000 to 5,000 feet in the Black Sea. In this video that has just been released moments ago, you can see where this Russian fighter jet is going up to this American drone. It is dumping fuel on it. That is what you're seeing in the video as it's approaching here. Then the jet goes away, it comes back, it dumps more fuel, and then it hits the American drone. It clipped the drone, one of the Russian fighter jets did. That is when you see the color bars there. Ultimately, of course, this is what led up to the downing of this drone. We have been following all week since this happened. This interaction that happened on Tuesday, we are told, lasted for over half an hour.
Accident, by the way? No, the accident is actually, if they clipped it, the accident is clipping, not fucking dumping. They do this all the time. It's I thought it was called dogfighting, but people told me that that's not actually dogfighting. Dogfighting is when you genuinely fight. But yes, even over international waters, like when there's territorial disputes and shit like that, pilots will often intercept. Right? They're not there to like actually shoot it down. They're there to just like fuck with it. Which they did. They were fucking with it. And then I think one of them, when they were doing a like close pass, I think it might have actually hit it. Dog squirting? Okay, I don't know what the fuck it's called. Okay, shut up. But yeah, their intention is not to like actually shoot it down. If they wanted to shoot it down, they wouldn't get this close. They would have just shot it. It's not supposed to be combat. But I think like they might have accidentally hit it. That's why I said it was an accident.
Now, of course, that U.S. drone was forced to be downed in the Black Sea. General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says it's about 4,000 to 5,000 feet beneath the water. The Russians are actively trying to retrieve it right now amid questions about what they could glean from it if they do. CNN's Natasha Bertrand is live at the Pentagon with more. Natasha, I mean, just watching this video is amazing in and of itself to see these two Russian fighter jets come up to this American drone, this Reaper drone, dump fuel on it, clip it, that has led to this dramatic escalation.
Our big, beautiful drones.
It is remarkable, Caitlin, and let's just remember what the Russians have been saying about this incident. The Russians have been insisting that that fighter jet, the Russian fighter jet, did not ever make contact with that drone. Well, now we can see that the video really does belie that explanation. We're seeing that the fighter jet actually comes up extremely close to the drone. You're watching it right there, starts releasing a lot of jet fuel, as U.S. officials had said it did. It hits that drone. That is when the camera footage goes out. And then when the camera footage reappears, you can see that the propeller of that drone is damaged. And that is exactly the sequence of events that U.S. officials had laid out, calling this behavior by the pilots extremely reckless and dangerous. I mean, this is just really remarkable. This is something that is so unusual to see, because usually when these fighter jets intercept these drones, they kind of just fly alongside them. And this fighter jet did do that. It flew beside this drone for about 30 to 40.
It absolutely is not unusual. What are they saying? Maybe it's because I'm fucking Turkish and this shit happens between the Turkish and the Greek Air Force all the fucking time. But like, it is literally the most usual thing. Yeah, and sometimes when they're dicking around, they accidentally fucking hit one another or tap one another. Not with like a missile or anything, but yeah. Brother, in America, we literally used like a howitzer missile on a fucking balloon club balloon like 2 weeks ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Like aerial fucking saber rattling is one of the most common things that happens all the time. Especially during like when we're intercepting flights that are on disputed territory, or flights that like whatever nation state considers to be dangerous. Not a howitzer, sorry, a sidewinder. Whatever, fuck, it's a howitzer. Aerial shenanigans. Dude, stop acting like Turkish and Greece jets dumps fuel and do stupid stuff like this. Wait, what? It is. What do you mean? They were fucking around and they made and it was an accident. They made a oopsie. What? No, they don't. Bro, you know they like sometimes down each other, right? Like while they're not dogfighting, but when they're doing this kind of like when they're engaging in this kind of fuckery, sometimes they end up accidentally dropping a plane, right? When they're, I guess, skirmishing or intercepting one another. It happens. Nah, bro. That's straight up aggression. Okay. Well, the Pentagon's not in support of your sentiment. So remember, the media saying one thing and the Pentagon saying an entirely different thing is, you probably should look at the more responsible party in this circumstance. But once again, remember yesterday when I was covering this story and I said this is like a non-issue, and even the Pentagon, it seems, is saying that it's a non-issue. And I told you that like it seems like even Americans in my chat are not, hitting the fucking NATO line. And then I told you yesterday that I'm sure once they get their fucking news media coverage of this, they'll come into the chat and start chirping about how this is the most important thing. NatSec Twitter is in here now, folks. We're here. This is the most important thing that could have ever happened. Hasan sticking up for the Pentagon was not on my bingo card law. I mean, yeah, when they engage in like the ironic de-escalation, okay, the unusual de-escalation, yeah, I will abide by what they're stating. I literally told you guys that what is happening today, right now, in my chat with people being like, Hasan, you're fucking wrong. This is literally the most aggressive action that anyone could have ever taken in the history of downed pilots to literally a Turkish guy coming from a country that like actually downed a Russian plane, like deliberately. I know the difference, bro. I know the difference when pilots accidentally clip one another and like down a fucking flight that's like manned by a human versus a drone that they're fuel dumping in front of versus directly blowing one out of the fucking sky. Anyway. But yeah, if I could find the fucking clip of me calling out all the NatSec Andes one day ahead, it's like they get their fucking information from CNN. They don't even want to listen to what the Pentagon is saying or what that means. They just immediately go, MSNBC and CNN told me this is an unusual escalation, an unusual act of gross aggression against America. And then you are such a fucking American chauvinist for the state, for the military state, that you turn around and you're like, no, dude, what the fuck? This is disrespectful to our military might.
40 minutes before actually speeding up right next to the drone, as you saw there, and starting to dump jet fuel on it. That is the moment when U.S. officials say they realized that something was really, really wrong here. As we have seen over the last couple days, U.S. officials have made really, really strict protests to the Russians about this incident, saying that it is completely unacceptable, that it could have endangered the pilots, of course, of that fighter jet, and of course that it violates the U.S.'s right to conduct these kinds of surveillance missions over the Black Sea and over international waters and over in international airspace. But again, this just really...
Like, what do they think? Do they think that this was like, they wanted to fucking, they wanted to hit the plane deliberately? But like, what? Are they out of bullets? Is that why? Do you think the Russian fighter jets are out of missiles? So they couldn't down it directly? Is that what you think was going on? Like, honestly, just think about it for a second. Like, what do you... Oh, man. Oh, suka blyat. We don't have any bullets. We use it all in Donbass. What are we going to do? Okay, dump the fuel. No, they're fucking around. Yeah. NatSec Twitter Andes, when they find out that, like, every fucking flight is basically communicated amongst these two nation states, even though they're currently engaging in a proxy war. What? You mean to tell me we're telling the Russians whenever our flights are in that fucking territory? What? And vice versa? Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's right. They do that. Accident versus deliberate? What are you even on about? What do you mean? This is before we even talk about like what the fuck the American drone is doing there, but
it really belies the Russian explanation for what happened here. Again, they had insisted that the Russian fighter jet did not hit that drone, but you can see pretty clearly right after that footage goes out, when the camera goes out, that the propeller is damaged. That really could have only been done by an impact from that plane, Caitlin.
Yeah, Natasha, thank you. And Don Pepe, I mean, as we're just watching this video, it's remarkable. And I want to remind people that yesterday we heard from the Pentagon, and they said that it was clear that the dumping of the fuel was intentional, but when it comes to the actual physical contact that they made, they weren't sure whether or not that was intentional. I mean, Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Don Pepe, was being asked if he believed this was an act of war. He said he wasn't prepared to go there yet, but these are the kinds of questions they're facing over this video that you're seeing here.
And that's what John Kirby said yesterday. They had to be careful because they didn't want this war to escalate into
our fucking they them woke generals at it again.
something else. And if you look at this video, there are big questions about whether or not it was intentional, because this is only 40 seconds of something that lasted for 30 to 40 minutes. So unintentional, 30 to 40 minutes. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Caitlin, stand by. We're going to check back in now with it in a moment.
Right, with experts on it, CNN military analyst, former member of the Joint Staff at the...
I'm surprised they haven't talked about the property damage. The worst kind of crime is property crime. The worst kind of crime is obviously like hurting America's feelings, let's be real, or threatening America's hegemony, threatening America's power status. That is what's like the most fucked up part of this, okay? They put our drone down, brother. What the fuck? You know? That's unacceptable, right? That's like the most unacceptable shit. Yeah, let's go to our general to talk about how devastating this is now.
Pentagon.
Let's go to the fucking general to talk about how devastating it is and like assume a position that is to the fucking further to the right. Let's go to our former general Raytheon lobbyist, Raytheon salesman, to talk about how fucked up this is, so he can tell us like how war should definitely happen. Maybe he won't say that, but usually that's how this goes. If you got fucking Mark Milley being like, guys, calm down. It's not that big of a deal. It was most likely an accident. Why the fuck is CNN constantly like, no, it's not an accident. It's deliberate, right? It's got to be a deliberate reason, right? Here, let's go ask General McFuckface, who currently is getting a $700,000 a year salary from Raytheon, how much more Raytheon missiles we need to further extend our war, to further extend our aggressive stance in the Black Sea.
Retired Colonel Cedric Layton is here, also CNN Chief White House Correspondent Phil Mattingly. Thanks both very much for being here. Phil, let me just go to you first.
If I had, sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot. If I had like one like minor tweak that I could do by design, I'd pass legislation that dictated that these fucking assholes that go on television have to wear like a NASCAR jacket with patches on it, showing exactly who their daddy is. Okay? I hate it when they go, oh, this is retired former, brigadier general, admiral, nuclear submarine commander. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything, because right now he's literally working for Northrop Grumman. You know what I mean? Like he's there at the behest of Northrop Grumman. He's there because he has contracts. He's doing lobbying work for Northrop Grumman. Say that. That is important. That is an important part of this conversation.
First, you're reporting, you're usually joining us from the White House. This was a decision by the U.S. military to release the video.
And
they didn't have to.
But you see why.
Yes.
Right? And I think they knew that the Russians were going to have a different version of events. I think that was both expected and happened very quickly. And it was very clear over the course of the last 36, 48 hours that they both thought this video proved their point and were trying to work through the process of actually getting this out in the public. And I think if you watch this video, and obviously this just broke, we've all been watching it at the same time, it very much backs up what U.S. officials had been telling us over the course of the last several days. And I think underscores the very palpable concern you heard from U.S. officials that this is a different level of escalation. These intercepts in and of themselves are not rare. That is rare. What you're watching on camera right now is rare and not something that happens often. You've seen the response from the administration, whether it's Secretary of Defense Austin, General Milley, as Caitlin was saying, they've all reached out to their counterparts. The ambassador was taken to the State Department to raise the issues, severe objections. Right. What they are not trying to do is escalate things, but they do want to prove their point. And I think this is what they're doing with this video.
Cedric Layton, I want to bring you in. Does this back up what the U.S. has been saying, that this was, in fact, indeed intentional?
Well, yeah, I think so, Don. Good morning to you. Yeah, it looks like the way the Russian aircraft, the Su-27, is coming into the drone, it's very deliberately going after the drone. And when you see the video and you see it come through right here, you look at the, you look at the way it's appearing in the camera from the Reaper, from the MQ-9, and it comes up really close. And then you see the propeller. It looks normal at this point in time, but when when you look at the propeller afterwards, you will see that bent blade, and that is very clearly a deliberate act. The way this aircraft is coming in to the drone, and you see that bent blade right there. Clearly something happened, and it had to have been some kind of an impact.
I'm sorry, it looks so funny. It looks like I don't know why. It looks like a fish who got its like little baby wing clipped or something. You know what I mean?
And I don't think,
Also, big L for whatever the fucking drone manufacturer is that, like, a little bit of a clip on the propeller like that causes this thing to fucking fall into the Black Sea. What the hell? It's got other propellers, dog. What's happening? There's no fucking, there's no additional systems that could keep it afloat. That's wild.
While the fuel spill on top of the aircraft, on top of the MQ-9 would have been significant, I don't think it would have caused that damage without there actually being metal on metal contact.
I'm so glad you pointed that out, because if we can pull that picture back up, you actually see that one of those, I'm sorry, I don't have the technical term, is like half the length of the one on the, on the opposite side. I think it's amazing, Cedric, that this lasted 30 to 40 minutes.
Get Marat's perspective on it, he will fucking scream at me. If he saw me shitting on American drones, he would lose his shit. I mean, he doesn't work on drones, he does spaceships, but he has often talked about how, like American drones are basically like the fucking, like the Lamborghinis of drones versus like Bayraktar is like a affordable Toyota Corolla. You know what I mean?
Yes. So when these things happen, when an intercept occurs, Poppy, what the aircraft comes up to the target that it's looking for, and it takes a while to identify the target. In this case, the Russian pilots would have said, "Okay, this is a drone." They would have probably identified it as an MQ-9. They would have then reported back to their ground controllers. The ground controllers would probably have directed them to go back to circle the drone, and they may have also directed them to do these more aggressive passes. And that will be key. If we can find out whether or not the ground controllers directed the pilots to make these aggressive passes, that then would have clearly indicated that this was a very deliberate action.
The American drone was in international airspace when it was illegally attacked in international airspace by a Russian aircraft. Yeah, that's why I'm not saying Russia has every right to shoot it down. I'm saying that it's most likely an accident. I don't know why you have to lose your fucking mind over it, when what I'm saying is basically repeating what the Pentagon is saying as well. Yeah, it's reckless behavior Interceptions are commonplace on international waters as well, regardless. We're not going to ask the question as to why an American drone is literally in the Black Sea. I guess you could ask that question. What's that about? But who knows? You can't compare shooting down a Chinese craft in our own airspace to that. Well, also, I literally thought that it was valid to shoot down the Chinese balloon. You know, I was talking about how funny it is that America literally shot down a child's balloon, like a little school group, like the balloon club's balloon. Clearly Russia's doing Russian stuff and not some crazy act of war. Pilot was probably drunk. I mean, I don't know about the pilot being drunk, but yeah, we're in agreement. Anybody that tries to turn this into a much larger issue is very likely just fucking posturing. For a better chatting experience, type /block the Faustini. It doesn't matter because when he says some dumb shit in the chat, I'm probably still going to respond to it.
Phil, that drone now thousands of feet below at sea level and in the Black Sea, on its way down to U.S. officials.
Hi, Russian plane expert here. What's happening in that video is bad. They only dump fuel when under immense stress. Yeah, a lot of you guys think that this this Russian fighter jet is actually having a good time. Well, I'm here to be the bearer of bad news. Crocodile, it's the fucking tweet that they're referencing that someone chimes in on every fucking month.
Told CNN that the operators remotely wiped the drone's sensitive software, which mitigates the risk of secret material falling into the enemy's hands before it crashed in the water. And obviously, they got the video as well. Yesterday, we had Kirby on, and he was saying, well, they weren't sure. They did everything to try to mitigate that. But now they're saying they did. So I guess if they got this video, they got the information as well and were able to wipe it.
And this is part of when they utilize these drones, particularly for intelligence collection purposes, they are able to get pretty real-time feeds or access to what the information is in the moment.
They're watching this in real time?
They can.
Wow.
It depends on how things are structured. One of the issues that they were concerned about, besides the fact that this is a very expensive piece of military property, is just ensuring, look, we don't have naval assets in the Black Sea. We are not able to the U.S. is not able to send their people to try and pick this up. They thought from the early stages that this likely fell very, very deep and would have been very difficult to pick up no matter what. But as I think Oren Lieberman, our colleague, reported, they made sure that they could wipe all their systems, kind of an internal self-destruct without the explosion, if you're trying to think through Mission Impossible type stuff, to ensure that if the Russians, which have made very clear they're trying to find this, trying to pick this up, if they do, what little is left of it will not be of any intelligence value.
Yeah. It's just you say Mission Impossible. I mean, people waking up to this morning, this looks like out of Top Gun, but it's real, and it's between the United States and Russia.
Now to Texas.
I love that. It's just a fun little story, just like advocating for like possible war. You know what I mean?